Tell me, how would a Sherman hold up against the German 88?
Well, see, the thing is that they turned this, there was a very effective anti-aircraft weapon, and they turned it on the tanks. And tanks, they didn't tell us this, but we found out that the 88 was deadly for the tanks. That would really penetrate our armor. We went into Rheinberg first before we got across the Rhine. That was one of our big battles, one of the ones that I was lucky again. We were in reserve, but they sent the tanks down the road at night, and that's deadly because you can't see and you can't hear from it in a tank. And so you're a target for anything that can hear you. And that's where we lost most of the 8th Armored Tanks. They sent 2 companies in of tanks in the darkness, and the 88s that the Germans had set up, sent them up in the woods on the other side of a factory. The factory was over here. We'd taken the factory, but we hadn't taken the woods. And they set them up over there, and they picked them off as they came down the road, just like ducks in a row. And the next day, we went through there, and our tanks and our men were out here. We lost almost 2 companies of tanks. That's almost 34 tanks one night.
Did you ever encounter a German 88 in your tank? Were you ever fired on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They fired a few rounds. Some of them fortunately missed. We had a driver that was dedicated to driving, and he wouldn't even let anybody else drive his tank. And he was very good, very fast at moving. And a tank can turn pretty quickly because all you have to do is stop one side, it turns. So we avoided a lot of the shells. One time when we were going along, this is towards the middle of Germany, down almost into Westphalia. We were going along this road, and it was later because it was starting to warm up and starting to green up. But what had happened, the German SS had gone into this resort area. We're around Blankenberg and the Mount Harz Mountains. It's in the northern part of Germany. It was a resort area, a hospital area for wounded SS troopers. And they were afraid that a lot of them would get together and go up there. So we were assigned to go along and clean that area out. It was spring enough so the leaves had started to come out on the apple trees. And we went through an apple orchard, and I knew what an apple orchard was because that's why I grew up in the apple area. And I said, oh gosh, it's going to be great later. So, and we had the infantry with us because we knew that the Germans were there. We came into the view of the town, and it was sort of like a plane, and you went up a hill. And the only road going up was through the trees. We started out, and the infantry started along with us because we were kind of blind. It's hard to say because when you're riding a tank, you just can't see anything as well as you can otherwise, even though you're sitting in the turret. But anyway, the Germans had dug foxholes, the kind they call them a spider hole. They dig a hole, then they put the grass back on top, and then they jump up, and they usually have a Panzerfaust, which is a round rocket, like they have rocket grenades today, a round one like this, about that long, and it was deadly for a tank. And they'd pop out of the hole, fire at the tank, and then drop down again. If your infantry could get up there, they could take care of those individual soldiers. We couldn't necessarily see them. So this is what's happening. We could see the soldiers popping up out of the ground with the Panzerfaust. So the infantry started to come up, so we stopped. So the town had originally decided to surrender, and we got just probably in the middle of the apple orchard going up, and we were already fire on the town again. We'd already started a few rounds just to let them know we were there, and we had no artillery return. Well, maybe a few mortar rounds, and so all the white flags had come out of the windows. We saw the sheets winging. Oh, hey, they're giving up. That's good. We won't have to, kill any more people. And so we moved forward and moved forward. And the flags had disappeared. So we stopped. And the flags had come out again. We said, what's going on here? Well, what they were doing was delaying long enough to dump all the important papers in the big well in the middle of the town. Anyway, they surrendered about 5 or 6 times. Finally, we just drove into town. They had just a small garrison left. The rest of them had taken off, I guess, during the surrendering. They just took off and left. So, but they did fish the papers out of the well after after they conquered the town. A few days later, we went into the mountains a little higher up. As we were going along this dirt road, again, a stream down here, and we came along. There was this house down here next to the stream, a river really, and on this side another bank, which is very common in the mountains up there. And we were on a dirt road, wide enough, regular road. All of a sudden, I noticed something down by the house. I thought, Whitey, 88. And there was an 88 down there. I could see some guys moving. I said, oh, boy. So we started to swing the turret around. All of a sudden, I heard this, and that 88 had fired, went over my head about that much into the bank up here. And he'd fired an armored piercing round, so it didn't explode, but it was it's a big steel round that would go through the tank. So I said, uh-oh. The Germans had a system, artillery system, firing system, and it's over, under, and on. So then I heard another one landed down here on the bank with a big gush of dirt. I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? We're anxiously moving the 75 around to fire on them. All of a sudden, they were, it missed the top of my head about that much. Went right over my head. I could feel the wind as it went by. Of course, I'm about ready to, I don't know. I can't remember my feelings, but I was lucky because they did. But we were turned around, fired on it, and we got most of the crew, and then some of the other tanks fired, and we went on. And that's the second time my life was saved. Who knows?